coming in today, because we know that we are competing with quite a big event out there. So I can't thank you enough for your time and for the energy that you're putting in being here today. So, one of the reasons why I chose this topic is because I don't know if you know this, but besides the home page on any website, the second most visited page is the one about. It's the about me, the about us, it's the about page. So sometimes when you see that, or when you look at another bio, it could be perhaps on LinkedIn or it could be somewhere else. What I have realized is that a lot of people mistake a bio for a resume or a chronological list of dates, times, and accomplishments. And nothing could be further from the truth, because what you want in a bio, I mean, there's a place for resumes, there's a place for, let's say, chronological stories of your life. But what happens is that a bio needs to work for you when you're not there. Usually, if it's on your website, again, your about page, or on wherever you post a bio, the bio has to speak about you. And the bio has to pique your reader's interest enough for them to say, oh, I definitely want to work with this person, or oh, I definitely want to buy from this person. Oh, I want to hear what this person has to say. So with that in mind, and with my background in copywriting and marketing, I put together a list of things that are important to keep in mind when you're writing your own bio. But for those of you that came in a little bit late, or perhaps the ones that are just joining us, as we were waiting for the top of the hour, I was asking those who had come in what brought them here and what they wanted to get out. And one of them said, well, I was writing one of my bios and it did not come out well. It was so hard. And I have to say, that is also another reason why I'm putting together this workshop today, because writing for yourself is the absolute hardest thing to do. So don't feel bad at all if you're having a hard time writing about yourself. It is only natural. It's almost like that saying that says you cannot read the label when you're inside the jar. It's roughly the same thing. It's very hard to write about yourself when you are the person that you're writing for. So let's get running, because I have a ton of information that I want to share with you today. Okay, so Elizabeth was kind enough to introduce me, so I definitely, we can skip this. If I can just direct your eyes, please, to the bottom, there's my email. It's helena@entrygurus.com. If you want to talk to me, if you want to reach out for anything that I can be of help, by all means, feel free. I love to receive email and make new friends. So by all means, this is where you can find me. Okay, so next thing. I did a totally informal poll and asked, what is the hardest when it comes to writing your bio? What is the biggest challenge that you're facing? You know, what are you against? What are you standing up against? So in no particular order, but this is what they said. Okay, so I'm not sure what to write. Or I don't want to sound braggy or arrogant. I have different skills. I do more than one thing. So let's say by day, I'm a dentist. By night, I paint. I'm an artist. Or by day, I am something. By night, I'm something else. So you know what I mean? I mean, a lot of us, myself included, are what are called multi-passionate entrepreneurs, or just simply multi-passionate persons. We have all these different things that we do that we love, and we simply just don't know how to put them together. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's simply connecting the dots in a way in which it makes you stronger, in which you make that, a gift, a multi-passionate, multifaceted gift, as opposed to make it seem like it's disjointed. And that's one of the things, going back to what I was saying, that it is so hard, because we ourselves sometimes see all those different parts of ourselves as disjointed, like different little parts of the brain. So here's the, let's say, the copywriter in me, here's the something else in me, here's the something else, here's the something else, or here's the dentist, here's the something else. And we're like, how do I put them together. So I'll show you how to do that. Another one is I just don't know how to tell my story, period. It's as simple as that. I just don't know where to start. I just don't. Should I start at kindergarten? Should I start when I was born? But then I've been, working for 25 years. So that's going to be a very long story. Where should I start? Okay. The other one is I just don't know what to do to connect with the reader. Because again, what you want is your bio to open those doors and close the sale for you. So how do we achieve that? Another one is, well, my bio seems to be too long. Again, going back to where do I start, especially if you have had a lot of experience. Where do you start? Okay. The other challenge is that you have all these different formats. So one, which is pretty much free, that you can write however you want in your about page, but then you may want something else. Or if you are working towards a specific, let's say a grant, for instance, and they say, tell us about you in 250 words or in 500 words. So you're bound by that word count. So where do you go? Where do you start? What format? How do you do it? And then the other challenge that people face is that crickets, just nothing comes to mind. So how do we go from there? Let me try to go as fast as I can because I have so much to share today. So in no particular order, I am going to answer these things, leading you towards the, let's say, the meat of this, which is how to write an awesome bio. All right, so let's move forward with this. But actually, before we do that, I want to ask you, uh, tell me which one you fall into. I mean, in the chat, are you not sure what to write, or is your bio too long, or do you not know what to connect? Are any of these ringing a bell? I'd love to see that. I think there's a little delay, but here we go. Oh, hey, Sabrina, how are you doing? Okay, Sabrina says different skills. Daryl says too long. Amy says number 3. Scarlett says connect to readers. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay, very cool. So I'm glad that these things are, ringing a bell because we're going to go very fast through them. Kieran says 2, 3, 4, 7. Wow, yeah, I mean, absolutely. Sometimes it's just not one, but a bunch of them. Okay, so very cool. Thank you, guys. Okay, so the first one. So what happens when your bio is too long? Well, I'm going to tell you, it depends on your niche. And because I realize that we have a very diverse audience today, I will have to say it is actually okay that it's too long based on your experience and your niche. So for instance, we've all seen those medical bios from dentists, from doctors, from surgeons that have a super long list of accomplishments. Of course, that is fantastic because the more they show how big of an expert they are in their field, the better. However, the problem with these things being too long is that it's not easy on the eyes. Sometimes you're like, whoa, what is this? And the easiest way to go about that is to simply break it up with bullets or with subheads. So just, and a subhead is as simple as a subtitle. So here are let's say the papers, let's just talk about a doctor, for instance. Here are the papers that I have written on, let's say, COVID-19. Here are the papers that I have written on, I don't know, I'm just going to make it up, on migraines. Here are the papers that I have written on the common cold, and so forth. So that way, at least it will give the reader, again, some way of classifying this, and more importantly, going for what they want. Because just remember, when someone is reading your bio, they are looking indeed for you, but more importantly, behind that looking for you, they are hoping and wishing and having the best intentions that you will be able to solve the problem or the need that they have. Otherwise, they wouldn't be there. So the best way in which you can give that to them is simply by putting it in little chunks so that it can be easier for them to say, oh, yes, this is what I want. So in this case, again, our imaginary doctor friend here, if you are looking for something on migraines, then you will see the subhead that says, oh, these are the papers that I've written on migraines. Then you go directly there. If you don't have COVID, if you don't have, let's say, a common cold, if you don't have anything else, then you can leave that aside and you can go directly there. It's kind of like a shortcut to that which the person is looking for. And then from there, they can say, oh my God, yes, this guy is the expert. I definitely want to go with him. So that's the idea when it is too long and it's acceptable to be too long. If you want to reduce it to something smaller because you're not necessarily in a field that rewards too long, by all means, I myself think that the sharper, the more succinct, the finer, the pithier, the better. And then if they want more information, then you can direct them to, which is super easy to do on a website. You simply put links or something like that. But I think if you have something that can be, let's say, short and sweet to the point, and then the links to support all that, you're golden. All right. So next one. You don't want to sound braggy or arrogant. Yes, raise your hand if you're in that category. I think we all are, to be honest with you, because we grew up with, our parents, grandparents, society at large telling us, no, 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 you do not brag about yourself. No, 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 you don't. That's too arrogant. No, no. But the truth is, to write a bio and to talk about yourself is not by any means to brag about yourself. The way I see this is you are braggy or arrogant when you are trying, let's say, to win a nasty game of I'm better than you. And because of that, I am going to prove to you. But this is not it. Your bio, on the contrary, is simply telling your audience how you can help them. So if they don't know how you can help them, you're not going to be able to make that sale. You're not going to be able to attract that client. In this case, it's exactly the opposite. You can and you should, if you have a degree or if you have the expertise or if you have something that helps your audience, by all means, you should put it in there because it is not only in your best interest, but also in their best interest. Let me put it to you in a very simple example. If you had, let's just say, okay, I'm going to exaggerate, but the cure for cancer, wouldn't you make it public? Wouldn't you put it there? Of course, right? Because you want this to help people, just as you want your services to help people, just as you want your products to help people, just as you want your whole, life story, your about page, your bio to help people. So that's what I'm talking about. So don't think for a moment that you're going to sound braggy or arrogant. On the contrary, the more well presented your bio is and your credentials are, the better. So just explain how you're helpful, or even you can tell a story to tell that. Okay, so next point. When you have different skills or you do more than one thing, here's the key. You are the common thread underneath. So link them all in a way in which it shows that they are strengths, not weaknesses. So, for example, back again to the imaginary dentist by day, artist by night. All right. So you could say, well, I am a dentist, but I'm also an artist. So I see my dentistry practice as truly an art. And as such, I am so passionate for teeth to be beautifully aligned and everything to be in harmony in your mouth. And you know what I mean? I mean, you can bring elements of one to the other. There's always a way to draw them. It's simply sitting down and figuring out how you can do that. Again, it's very hard to do it on your own, but if you can ask friends and family or acquaintances, hey, you know that I am, a dentist, but I'm also an artist. Have you ever seen parts of my artistry come into my dentistry work? Or have you ever seen part of my dentistry come into my artistry? And they will say, oh, yes, absolutely. Yes, I noticed that, for instance, as a dentist, you're very meticulous. And with your art, you're also very meticulous in your methods. Or, they will be able to see things that you may not. So ask them, ask around. The next point is, I don't know what to write. And that, again, my friends, that is so common, especially when you're writing about yourself. So here are some things to break this cycle. Simply ask about your bio. Why are you writing? And really, Why are you writing? Why do you want to write this bio? Because you want to attract more clients? Because you want to get a job? Because you want to show a very professional profile? Or you want to show a more uh, friendly, super cool, hip startup type of profile? So it really depends. Why are you writing about? Is this going to make the sale for you, or is this going to lead to something else? Totally up to you. And also ask, who are you writing for? Who is your audience? That is going to be super interesting. So in the case, for example, if you're writing a bio for a grant, yes, think about this. You are writing for the people who are going to give you the grant, but the people who are going to give you the grant are looking for somebody, of course, to give a grant to, but not just that. It doesn't stop there. They are looking for somebody who is going to use the grant money to make something awesome, to turn that into a success story, so that afterwards they are the ones that are going to be bragging about you, saying, oh my God, look at our grant recipient, our grant, or the person who received our grant. This person was able to do this, blah, blah, blah. And they are going to brag about you in the most wonderful way. And it's going to reflect back upon them, and more people are going to be looking to receive their grants, or they're going to be able to say, hey, we are so awesome because our students do these great things with our grants. So think about who you're writing for and what is ultimately what they want. And then think, when you're writing, what are you writing for? Meaning, what's your goal and what is their ultimate goal? All right, so let's move forward to the next one. I'm just going to check the chat and see if there are any questions. Okay, so far, so good. We're going to keep the questions at the end, but I always like to check in case you guys want me to go back a slide or something like that. All right, cool. Um, for those of you that don't know necessarily how to connect with the reader, I would say ask the same questions as before, because when you have clarity on what you're writing, who you're writing, why are you doing this, you will find the purpose of your bio. Again, if you're writing for a grant, or if you're writing for getting a job, or if you're writing for attracting better clients, that is ultimately what is going to determine that connection. So with that in mind, simply start with your story, because it's the most important thing. And in terms of the different formats that it would take, again, if you're going to be able to tell a story, look at the guidelines, look at the limits, look at the relevance. There are times in which I've seen, for example, a lot of different bios of incredibly, just super high achievers, wonderful accolades, etc. But it seems, for instance, that the way in which they put it together is way too long. So, for example, I know this person who received 5 Emmy Awards, and this person wanted to list them all. And I thought, well, why don't we do this? We're not hiding what the Grammy Awards were for or anything, but simply, if on the bio we just put winner of 5 Emmy Awards and then a link to a page that details them, that's going to be so much easier. Because initially, in this particular case, most people are not necessarily looking at the specifics of the awards, but they are just looking for who this person is. And when they come to the notion that he's an award uh, winning executive, they'll be like, oh my God, this is awesome. Then if they want to know more, that's great. But just to know that you have those awards in there is more than enough, let's say, at first glance. So look at the different formats, look at what to include in each, and that will give you, again, a good idea as to what you need to do. And then what happens when nothing comes to mind, when you're like, oh, great, I'm sitting here in front of my computer, blank sheet in front of me, and I have nothing to write. Okay, usually what happens is that we consider ourselves in as if we're in a, let's say, non-sexy profession. And just because we're trying to compare ourselves to, I don't know, Bill Gates or Elon Musk, or, we want to have this awesome bio, but we think, well, you know what? Mine is certainly not sexy. And that used to happen to me because I thought, like, who wants a copywriter? I'm like way, way behind the scenes. But then I realized, you have to quote unquote evaluate the risk of putting yourself out there versus not putting yourself out there. And writer's block, as much as people like to tout it, I don't think it's real. I think it's fear that prevents us from writing. But writer's block doesn't exist as a thing. Just think for a moment, okay? Writers are the only ones that have this, let's say, impediment to write. But what would happen if, God forbid, but your sewage is backing up and the plumber comes in and then suddenly says, well, you know what? I'm just really not inspired today. I think I'm just going to go have a drink, probably relax a little bit, and then I come back and help you. God, no! What you want is somebody to help you right then and there. Or if you have a toothache and you're at the dentist and you're like, oh my God, I'm in so much pain. And they're like, well, I'm not really feeling inspired today either. I just have you heard of dentist block? So my point is, none of these things exist in other professions. So don't let this hamper your ability to put something in writing. It's simply, if you don't know what to write, simply start typing. Nothing, whatever comes to mind. Like, once upon a time, there was Little Red Riding Hood, blah, blah, blah. And they just keep going, keep going, keep going. Eventually, your mind will say, oh, this is crazy. I need to go back to my bio, and that's it. So just write a paragraph or two of nonsense that you can delete later on, no worries. And then you'll get to it. So once you get into the rhythm of it, then you'll be fine. Okay, so for this, and I say here, start with a very broad question. Sometimes when I don't know what to write, I go back to, okay, what is the broadest question that I could ask about this so that I can do a brain dump? So I put everything in, and then later on, I pick the good, the juicy parts. Okay. My question in this case, when I'm talking about a bio, and you're going to laugh, but it's true, is okay, so you were born and there you go. So take it away. I know it's super broad, but the funny thing I have to tell you is that some people sometimes when I ask, okay, so you were born and they're like, well, my grandparents. So instead of starting with themselves, they start with their grandparents. And then they come to the parents and the brothers and the sisters, and eventually that helps them focus on themselves. So I'm telling you, because it's perfectly valid. And sometimes when you think of what the legacy of your grandparents, your parents, and everyone around it, you will see also common threads as to why you love so much the thing you do. If you're in the same profession as your parents or grandparents, or if you continue to lead the business that they started, or something like that. So you'll find some great, great, great surprises in there. All right. So the next one, and this I think is the most important of them all, because ultimately what I told you were, what I've been telling you are little points here and there as to how you can troubleshoot, if you may. But the bottom line here, and what we're going to talk about today, is how to tell your story. And this is what I'm going to show you. Why do we like stories so much? I want to ask in the chat, why do we like stories? We are humans. As humans, we are completely wired to tell stories. But tell me, who likes stories in here? I think everyone will be able to say yes, 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 me. Yeah, Peggy says it's the best way to remember something. Absolutely, because it has been relatively in our history, a relatively short period of time that we've had books and papers and way to remember all this. And Karen says it's a way to relate. Absolutely. Stories not only help us remember things, but help us relate to that. So it's a great way of telling something, remembering something, learning something, and passing that learning or that important message or that way to relate to somebody else. So, what happens with stories? Uh, when you're building a story, whenever you come to a story anywhere, the story has already begun. Rarely does it start. Once upon a time, there was, let's just say that I'm telling your story, okay? There was a baby born in the tri-state area who started blah blah blah. If you want to write your bio for today, it's going to be way long before you get to where you are today. So it doesn't necessarily have to start chronologically. The stories, think of any movie that you like. They open up when the story is going great and and something is about to happen. It's about to get crazy somehow. Crazy good, crazy, crazy, or crazy otherwise, but something's going to happen. And we know that. So the way in which you build this for your bio is taking a page from storytelling. So there are three ways in which I build my bio. So the first one is by picking one element for what I call the epic story framework. The other one, we're going to look at what are the story elements. And the third one is what I call the story perspective. So think about, as I was mentioning, any story, any movie that you have seen. Think about that. So most movies start when, let's say, our main character, in this case you, was in what we call quote unquote paradise. It doesn't have to be an island in some tropical place, but it just has to be a very cool place and everything is going gung-ho and it's cool. So you start in paradise, then something happens, there's some sort of disaster, right? Then our hero, our character in this case, becomes just reluctant, really. It's like, no, 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 I'm not going to be able to do this. And then something happens that is clearly a victory, but it's about to be taken away because what follows is usually some sort of crazy, devastating defeat. And that is just not good. After that, usually there's a moment of grace, and then that leads to the ultimate victory. And as I was telling this, I'm sure that you had probably one or two movies in mind. So please tell me in the chat which movie came to mind for you. Amy says, well, yeah, will we have access to the slides? Absolutely, Amy. Of course, happy to share them. So did this bring any movies to mind? Okay, Eric says Star Wars. It's so funny that you mentioned that because that's usually the first movie that pops up whenever I talk about this, and it's so true. But think about it. Could this be Superman? Could this be Nemo? Or Finding Nemo, excuse me? It really could be any movie because they all follow the same epic story framework. And Karen says Rocky. Yes, absolutely. So my point is, this is not just one particular story or one particular movie. All of them follow this particular narrative. So take this into consideration. We'll come back to this really quick, but for your framework when building your bio, you're going to pick one of these things, and this is where you're going to get started. The next part that we're going to talk about is the story elements. So, who are you going to be? And what are you going to talk about? So, are you going to be the hero of the story? Are you going to be the villain? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a villain, like you're bad, but it could be that your bio talks about how you solved a problem and how you were, let's say, the villain because you came and revolutionized the way in which your industry did something. So initially you were the villain because everybody was just all set in the status quo and they didn't want to move anything. And it was the way in which they've always done it and blah, blah, blah. You had a better way to do it. And then the story ends in you doing it. And because of that, now you are, let's say, promoting your consulting experience to be able to do this for other similar companies in your industry. So that's what I mean. Like, could you be the hero? Could you be the villain? Could you talk about the elephant in the room? Sometimes there are things that that everybody knows they're there, but nobody wants to talk about them. That could be a great point. Or you have the story behind the story. Everything was going well, but then one day something happened. And what you don't know is that prior to that happening, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 had been going on. So, because of that, what we did as a team was move forward in this direction instead of going to this one. And then we were able to make this happen. And I decided to start my own business, or because of that, I realized that it would be better for me to look for a different job, because this company was going now in a direction in which I didn't want, but I still want to have to continue along these lines. So my point is, going back to your goals, remember who you're writing for, what you want them to do with this, meaning to hire you, to reach out to you, whatever your call to action is. You can tell them a story that is going to pull them into that direction. And one of those elements could very well be the story behind the story, as in this case. Or you can have, again, breaking news, which some stories are like that, or simply very little known facts that you know and that you're happy to share. Hey, have you ever heard, let's say, the secrets of, I don't know, copywriting, or the secrets that, uh, let's say, your doctor knows but doesn't want you to know when this happens. Well, I do know it because throughout all my years of, those things are really sticky. They really work when you want to bring somebody to learn about you. So, all right, those are the story elements. Let's see. Daryl is asking, is it common to have more than one bio? Sure, why not? It depends. Again, going back to your goals, what what do you want? Who is it for? And what do you want them to do? So if you're writing, for instance, I was working on a bio for a gentleman who has four, let's say, completely different areas of his life, and he wanted four different ones. So one was for academia, the other one was for his entrepreneurship endeavors, the other one was for his hobbies, which are pretty professional hobbies, if you may. But he did not want to mix them. So definitely you can have more than one bio. Um, and then the other one, the last point that I want to make is, you can have it from a bird's eye view, or you can have it from what would be the equivalent of a face to face. So you could have the about bio talking about yourself and what you've done, kind of like on a general, again, a very high perspective looking in, or you can have it almost as if you were talking face to your friend. So those are the ways in which I put them together. Uh, so let's just quickly go back. So if you pick, for instance, one element from the story framework, one story element, and then one story perspective, you will be able to piece together a bio that is unique to you and that takes people, again, your reader, to where exactly you want them to go. But where do you start with this? Again, very simple. Start with a question. In this case, I will not say, start with as broad as a question as I mentioned before, but here are some things that will make you get go to the core of what you want to write about. So the first one is, what makes you angry? What makes you angry to the point that you want to enact change? What makes you say, hey, I am going to go change that because I don't like that in my industry, or I don't agree with that, or that is outdated, that is not efficient. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're going to what makes you angry, in the sense that what pushes you to change it because you're so passionate about that particular topic that you want to make it even better. So that's what I mean by what makes you angry. The other one is, what makes you sad? What makes you say, oh my God, this has to change, this is not right? And again, it could be anything in your industry. I don't know, because we have such a diverse pool of people here today, I don't know exactly what is something that would make you sad in your industry, in your niche, but certainly you may say, well, I want to change the fact that this is happening today, because it's not right that people have to go through all these things only to get this, right? So I am on a quest to change it, or something like that. And then something else. What solution do you offer? What makes you angry? What solution do you offer? What makes you sad? What solution do you offer? What do you want to change? Ultimately, what solution do you offer to that particular change? And as you are writing, I want to just say there is a saying, it's in Spanish, but in English, it would translate roughly to write fearlessly, but edit mercilessly. And what happens is that we sometimes think that the first draft has to be the good one, and it's so good that it's probably going to win a Pulitzer Prize for for our writing. And that's not the case in our circles, and the copywriting circles. We always say that the writing isn't the rewriting, and it is not uncommon. I'm not saying that you have to do this by any means, but it is not uncommon for us copywriters to edit and edit and edit dozens of times. I'm not talking about a few times, I'm talking about dozens of times. So we're in the 36th edit. We're in the, because every time you edit it, you're going to make it better. Now, obviously, that is for, very, very specific high-end projects that you would do so many revisions. But don't expect, what I'm saying is, don't expect for you to be ready and for you to love your bio once you are just done writing something and that's it. No, the more you edit, the better. But here's the kicker. Don't do it at the same time, because your brain has basically two sides, if you may. So there's one part of your brain that is the creative, and there's one part of your brain that is the critic. The creative is the part of your brain that is going to be able to pull out all of these wonderful memories, all of these wonderful things that you do, the one that lets you flow and go from, oh, yes, I'm a dentist by day, I'm an artist by night, or I'm this and this and this, and yes, we can join it like this. The minute your critic comes in, the critic will say, oh, no, 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 that has nothing to do with one another. No, I don't think so. No, no, it's not even relevant. No, get that out. No, delete. So don't do one thing at a time, because those two parts of the brain cannot coexist. So put on your creative writing hat first, and then, and only then, once you're done, then bring your editing hat, or then bring your editing brain in. So put that critic hat in, and then you can edit. But don't let them coexist at the same time, because that it's going to go crazy. And sometimes that's what happens when we, that's why we cannot move forward, because we basically, we are inside ourselves telling ourselves what to do and what not to do. So it drives us crazy. It's like the little angel and the little devil in here at the same time. They drive us nuts. So anyway, that's what happens. So I want to open it up to Q&A, and because we are running uh, you know not out of time, but we're definitely coming to the end of our time together here, I wanted to offer something. I'm thinking about putting together, if there is enough interest, a workshop that is called Writing a Killer Bio, to help you out with your ideas, to help you out at least get through, you know, the first draft of your bio, so that you can feel more comfortable with the process going forward. If there is enough interest in this, just let me know. I'm going to drop on the chat. Let me see. Hang on for a second. I am going to drop in the chat the link to the form. It's just simply an interest form, so that you can tell me if you're interested. The information is there. And so if there is enough interest to form a group, I'll definitely do it, and I'll let you know, and we'll get going, very soon, probably in, at the beginning of February, we'll get to do that. So it is right there. And then I just want to open it up to Q&A now, because I would love to see if there are any other things that you have in mind, milestones that you have achieved, or challenges that you haven't been able to move past in terms of writing your bio. So take it away. Feel free to ask. I'm all yours, and I'm an open book. Sabrina says, can you elaborate more on the brain dump? Um, oh, and somebody said link is inactive. Oh, holy cow. Give me 1 second. Let me see. The link should be active though. Hang on for a second. Let me, Oop, not accepting responses. Now it's active. So sorry about that, guys. Okay, cool. Thank you, Karen. Thank you very, very much. Okay, so going back to Sabrina says, can you elaborate more on the brain dump? Yes, the brain dump, well, really, as the name says, is just that. Letting, more than anything, a brain dump is giving yourself permission to put everything on paper, regardless of whether you think it's important or not. I have found some gold nuggets, really some diamonds from brain dump that my clients said, oh no, I wasn't even thinking about that. No, 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 I don't think it's relevant. I didn't even think to tell you that because I frankly just didn't think it would be important. But you wouldn't believe what you can find in there. So just give yourself permission, and you can do it, in you can type on it, or you can set aside, you don't need that much. You need probably what, 15, 20 minutes. If you set aside half an hour, that'll be more than enough. And the idea is, the rules of the game, if you may, are just to let your mind go freely, and you write what comes to mind. Of course, your intention is to write about your bio, not write about, the weather or anything like that. But anything about your story, your bio, the things about yourself, what you can bring to the table, how you help your clients, what you want this bio to do for you. Do you want it to close the sale? What are you going to do? What are you going to offer? So that, again, the ultimate goal is for the people who read your bio to say, yes, this is the person that I need to talk to, or yes, this is a person that I want to buy from. And also, very important, in put in there a call to action. If you want to, please call me, or please, you can find me, you can, here's my email, you can send me an email, I'll be happy to. So anything that you think will lead, again, your reader to connecting with you in the way in which you want them to connect, that's the most important part. But you will not get that unless you do a full brain dump, because then you'll be able to see, oh, okay, so this is where I start, this is where I continue, these are the ways. Again, you have your epic story framework, your story elements, and whether you do it face to face or an overview, that will lead you, that is ultimately how your client will see you, or how your customer will read the bio. And that's the important thing ultimately. Let's see. So Heather says, I have to hop off, but loved it. Oh, thank you, Heather, so much. uh any other questions? I am happy. I don't know, Elizabeth, if what the rules of the game are, but I'm happy to let them unmute themselves if it's okay, so that we can chat for a few more minutes. Or
Absolutely, Elena.
yeah,
Absolutely.
please
Yeah.
do, please
Please,
do.
yeah.
So I just want to give you, for all of you that came in later or didn't get a chance to write down my email, here is my email, and I'm delighted to talk to you and to help out in any way I can. I'm going to stop sharing because I want to see more of your faces. So very cool, much better. Let's see. I want to see you. Oh, hey, hi everyone. Okay, very cool. So feel free to unmute, and feel free to ask any questions. Who wants to go first? I am seeing some very cool names in here that I know. So I know Sandra. I know Cecilia. How are you doing? I know a lot of you from the New York Public Library. Thank you so much for being here. This is wonderful. And
Well,
to
I
those
just
of you
want
that I don't know, I'm just thrilled to meet you.
Helena, I just want to say this was great.
Sandra, thank
I
you.
didn't arrive in the very beginning because I was speaking myself, but I loved what you said about the editing because you really have to separate. And I love
Oh,
that. And
yes.
also the idea of a bio as causing reaction. I love that. Like, I don't think most people talk about, they say, about, it's a bio is very just, you know, standard. And, you're really making this a bio into a marketing and something that can be proactively helping us, which I love.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. And just to not to sound repetitive, but if any of you came in a little bit later, what I was saying earlier is that the importance of what I think is truly the important part of the bio, is that, of course, it's about you, but it's not necessarily about you yourself. It's about what you can do for your clients, is how you can help them. Because when they are reading your bio, they are secretly wishing that, or perhaps not so secretly, but that they can be, that, excuse me, that you can be the one to help them with whatever it is that they're seeking, whether it's solving a problem, selling them something that they're looking for, giving them information, whatever it is that you offer, that's what they are there for. So your bio, just like the title of the presentation, needs to be able to, open doors for you if
Mhm.
that's what you want, or simply close the sale to the extent that they say, oh, yes. So when I'm looking for an expert in LinkedIn, I just need to go to you, Sandra. Is like, oh my God, yes, I know that Sandra is the one, and your bio perfectly tells me that. So there is, in a sense, when a bio is so well written and it's so powerful, it closes off any other choices because they know, they are convinced that you can help them out.
Great.
And ladies and gentlemen, I also want to make a little quick commercial here. Sandra is also going to be doing one of these series in a couple of weeks, I
I
think.
think it's February
I
2nd or 3rd. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So yes, the series is going to be awesome. So thank you, Elizabeth, for putting it together, and Peggy, and the whole team from the FERG Pro Speakers Group, because that was just fantastic. So we have about 5 minutes, and I want to make sure that I hand the mic back to you, Elizabeth, in case you have any, anything else that you have. If you have any other questions, I'm happy to answer them. Any comments?
There were a
Any
couple of things,
announcements?
Elena,
Uh-huh.
Daryl has a question.
Oh yeah, by all means. Oh, sorry,
Oh,
Daryl, I didn't see your hand up. Yeah.
don't worry, I'm really short. No, no. It's on Zoom. I really appreciate this, and thank you, Elizabeth, and the Ferguson Library for having this. I actually got in here by accident. I ended up on the listserv, but I thought this was
Oh my
interesting.
God. I'm so happy. What a wonderful accident.
Yeah, I don't believe anything happens by mistake, though, so I actually appreciate it. The quick question that I have for you is that I speak in multiple different, I wear multiple different hats in the state, and I speak on many different things from trauma to criminal justice reform and so on and so forth. One of the problems that I have, or one of the questions that I get most is like right now in my email, I must have 5 people asking for short bios, right? Like the short bio. And it seems like each one would be a little different. Like, maybe somebody, if I'm talking about trauma or we're talking about urban living in urban environments, then that bio will be different from when I'm talking about police reform and so on and so forth. So I was just curious. That's why I asked the question about the multiple bios.
Oh, definitely, definitely. What I suggest in those cases, because your case is very, very similar to this client that I was working on those different bios. Whenever I work on a bio, and really quick for everybody, the product, if you may, that I give them is actually not just quote unquote a bio, but it's actually 4 bios. And what I do is I write a, 4 to 500 page bio. Excuse me, 4 to 500 word bio. No, God forbid, page. No, that would be crazy. Okay, so 4 to 500 words. Then I write from there, I distill it to about 250 words. Then from there, there's a further one distilled to about 100 words. And then there is a short one up to about 50 words, because those are, let's say, your bios that you can have at the ready anytime. And then you can definitely do that for yourself and have them like that. Usually when people say a short bio, I would go with the 50 to 100, because it's usually for them to, the super short one, the 50 word, is usually a byline when you're writing about something. And the other one is usually to introduce you to, say, a webinar like this. But also that doesn't mean that you just have one. So it could be one on one topic, and then because the other topic, as you're mentioning, is completely different, you do not necessarily have to reinvent the wheel, but you can take, let's say, your commonalities, and then simply add or plug in what makes it different. And that way you have, your one bio for scenario A, your one bio for scenario B. And that way, when people say, oh, yes, do you have a short bio? You can just say, sure, copy, paste, and send it out. Another thing that you can do is you can have, probably a few lines here and there of additional things. So for instance, when people ask me, well, can you send me your bio, and can you emphasize, please, let's say you're blogging? Definitely. So I have my basic short bio that I take, and I will insert a little line or two about the blogging experience and the testimonials that I have about that, simply to really reinforce it. Or if it's for a group of readers, then of course I will talk about my reading, or I will talk about my book if it's for content writing. So it's think of a bio as something very dynamic. You can have something that is there and that you can at any moment just simply copy and paste and send it to whomever. But if you need to tweak it, you can definitely do that anytime. And also because you are constantly, let's say, tweaking and improving yourselves and producing more and more things, you may want to once a year or once a quarter, depending on how active you are, put that something in there. If you get an award, by all means include it, especially if it's something recent. And even if it's not all that recent, if it's relevant, by all means include it. Yeah, I hope that helps.
No, that was very helpful. Thank you. Yeah, I always
Awesome. My pleasure.
It's like I've been playing with it for a long time, so a lot of tips you gave were useful. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad they were helpful. All right, Elizabeth. So we are right at one. I want to be very respectful about everyone's time. Of course, I could talk about this forever because I love it, but by all means, if you guys need to leave, I definitely want to be very respectful of that. I just want to give you one more time the link if you are interested. I am definitely happy to put that together. Oops, I'm sorry. I sent it to somebody that just sent me a private message. Let me just send the link to everybody. All right. So Elizabeth, the floor is
so
back to you.
Helena,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So Helena, I think I will send a follow-up message to everybody that registered with the slides, with the recording, and perhaps even the link to the Google form that's going to work.
Thank you.
Yeah, so
Thank you
I
so
think
much.
that would be great. I also early on had put in the flyer for the next in the series, which is upping your professional image on Zoom. So please sign up for that. It's next week on Wednesday, same time, same place. And we hope to see many of you there. And then also our last in this winter series is the LinkedIn profile, which is going to be important for everybody in this day and age. So join us for that. That's going to be, I believe, February 3rd. It's also a Wednesday at 12 noon, led by none other than Sandra, who's really an expert in this field. So I look forward to seeing you guys next week, and I will be following up. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you,
All
everyone.
right,
Have a
yes.
wonderful rest of your day.
All right, take care. So Helena, I'll be in touch with you about getting all the content for the follow-up.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Okay,
Thank you so
great.
much.
Thanks.
Take care.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Oh, Helena.